Hey everyone, this video is part of a collab between Linfamy, the Shogunate and I. We have teamed up to deliver Sengoku themed contents across our channels. Linfamy is doing a video on 5 assorted short stories centered on Nobunaga. The Shogunate is doing a review on Samurai Warriors 5, the latest entry in the Samurai Warrior series. And I'm doing a series on the 3 Unifiers of Japan. You can find the link to their videos in the description section. Check them out after you finish watching this one. This video is the first episode of the 3 Unifiers of Japan series, where I will follow the lives of the 3 Unifiers of Sengoku Japan: Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. The Sengoku era is a very chaotic period in Japanese history, where too many conflicts and exciting events are happening simultaneously all across the land. So, by looking at it through their perspective, we can provide a more coherent stream of narrative for newcomers to the Sengoku history. The format is the same as my Romance of the Three Kingdoms Summarised series, where I will take an eagle's eye view of the events starting from the birth of Nobunaga up to the end of the Sengoku era. So if you think certain events should be expanded on, then feel free to comment, and I may consider doing a separate video on it. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at the life of young Nobunaga. In the year 1534, Oda Nobunaga, the man who would be known as the first unifier of Japan, was born in the province of Owari to the Oda clan. His childhood name was Kipposhi. In ancient Japan, it was customary for people to change their name once they reach adulthood. And throughout their lifetime, they may change their name multiple times for various reasons. To prevent confusion, I will just refer to these historical characters with their most commonly known names. Nobunaga was born right in the middle of the Sengoku period. A fool, a genius, tyrant, artist, iconoclast, he would grow up to be a mesmerizing bundle of contradiction that you can't peel your gaze away from. The death and destruction he would inflict throughout his conquest of Japan also laid the foundation of its reunification. Charismatic, yet dangerously sharp around the edges, he was a special product of his time. Sengoku period Japan was a dangerously chaotic world where the concept of Gekokujo permeated through the land. Gekokujo means the low, those in lower position, overcoming those in higher position. Here is a quick explanation of how the politics of Japan at the period work. On paper, the ruler of Japan was the Japanese emperor. Under him was the military leader of Japan, the shogun. However, in reality, the shogun held the de facto power, and the emperor was relegated to performing ceremonial tasks as the nation's figurehead. He was the spiritual leader of Japan, who claimed direct lineage from the sun goddess Amaterasu. So that's why nobody but the member of the imperial family could take this position. Throughout Japanese history, the imperial family often came under the control of the shogun. Even the shogun themselves would fall under the control of another party. During the Kamakura shogunate, it was the shogun regent or shikken from the Hojo clan. And during the time of the Ashikaga shogunate, after the Onin War, it was under the control of the Hosokawa clan. The Onin War marked the start of the Sengoku period. Due to the weakening power of the central authority, various local lords and daimyos began to ignore the shogunate and exert more control within their own region. They set their own economic, agriculture, and military policies, essentially becoming mini kings within their own domain. They would also periodically fight among themselves to expand their territory. But because of all the backstabbing and instances of Gekokujo, the weaker lord overcoming the more powerful, all progress keep getting resetted, and it seemed as if the end of the Sengoku period was nowhere in sight. Oda Nobuhide, the father of Nobunaga, was one of such minor lords. He wasn't big enough to be called a daimyo, but he certainly tried his best to change that fact. Sadly, however, he just wasn't that successful of a leader. He had some victories against the neighboring Matsudaira clan and Imagawa Yoshimoto. But later on, he was successively defeated by his neighbors Saito Dozan and Imagawa in 1547 and 48 respectively. To broker peace, he arranged the marriage of his son Nobunaga to Dozan's daughter, Lady No. In the battle against the Imagawa and Matsudaira alliance, he kidnapped the son of the Matsudaira leader as hostage. and threatened to kill him unless the Matsudaira clan switched sides. This is when Matsudaira Hirotada famously said that if Oda killed his son, then it would only prove his loyalty to Imagawa. If he didn't kill him, then he still won anyway. Thus, Oda Nobuhide was defeated by Imagawa Yoshimoto, and the 5-year-old child was brought back with them to Honshoji Temple, where he would be kept as hostage. The boy's name was Matsudaira Takechiyo. In the future, he will change his name to become Tokugawa Ieyasu, the last unifier of Sengoku Japan. As if fate had brought them together, the 3 unifiers of Japan came in close proximity of each other during their childhood. At the time, Nobunaga, who was residing at Owari, was 14 years old. Hideyoshi, who went under the name Kinoshita Tokijiro, the son of a humble soldier working for the Oda clan, was 12, and the hostage Ieyasu was 6. However, they were soon separated. Not much was known about Hideyoshi's early life. His various biographies contradicted each other. According to some sources, in 1551, he left his home to seek work in another province. As for Ieyasu, he was transferred to Imagawa the same year by Nobunaga to save his stepbrother from an Imagawa siege. But don't worry, they would eventually be reunited under the same banner. For now, let's focus on young Nobunaga. Nobunaga was given the best samurai education they could provide. He even took the initiative to learn the art of hojutsu, musket marksmanship. In 1543, Portuguese merchants had made contact with Japan, and in the process, they had introduced Portuguese muskets. The Japanese then adapted it to their arsenal very quickly. Its effectiveness in battlefield had yet to be proven, but the brilliant Nobunaga was an early adopter of this technology. Despite all his noble samurai training, Nobunaga acted like he was a feral child. He dressed funny, wore his hair funny, and broke every code of decorum. Thus he was called Owari no Otsuke, the Fool of Owari. Well, what do you expect? He was sent to the battlefield when he was just 13 years old. And in that time period, it wasn't even an uncommon thing. When his father died in 1552, he threw incense powder at his altar and just left. Unlike his father, the fool Nobunaga did not have complete authority over the Oda clan. Soon after, his father's vassal left him for Imagawa, and when he tried to attack the traitor, he was miserably defeated. His younger brother, Nobuyuki, was also more favored by the Kyosu branch of the Oda clan. This created internal conflict within the clan itself. To remonstrate against Nobunaga's erratic behavior, his stepfather, Hirate Masahide, committed a special form of seppuku called kanshi to protest his young master's behavior. Not long after, Nobunaga scored some victories against the Kyosu faction. Nobunaga's erratic behavior caught the interest of his father-in-law, Saito Dozan. In one occasion, in 1553, Dozan decided to test his son-in-law and invited him to a meeting. He was going to observe Nobunaga, and if he really turned out to be a fool, then he would capture and humiliate the boy. However, as Nobunaga approached, he was treated to a dazzling sight of a properly dressed young man, and most importantly, a well-armed troops of pikemen and 500 archers and gunners. The pikes they had were long, much longer than Dozan's pike, probably to complement their artillery. Nobunaga always had the knack for innovation. Did Hirate's seppuku change him? Or had he always been pretending to be a fool? Dozan suspected that it was the latter. In this dog-eat-dog world where patricide and fratricide are as common as autumn leaves, Nobunaga couldn't be too careful. If he wanted to survive the growing might of powerful daimyos such as Mori Motonari to the west, the Tiger of Kai, Takeda Shingen, and Dragon of Echigo, Uesugi Kenshin to the east, and the nearby Imagawa Yoshimoto, then he better get his clan affairs sorted out quick. Since the death of his father in 1552, all the way to 1559, Nobunaga concentrated all his efforts into defeating the opposition within his own clan and defending against periodic Imagawa incursion. In the process, he killed his own uncle in 1555 and even his own brother Nobuyuki in 1557. To be fair, the boy was given a second chance after he was defeated in the previous year, But he just won't learn his lesson and launched a second rebellion. Sometime in 1558, Hideyoshi, who had somehow ended up working for Imagawa, rejoined Nobunaga's army as a lowly soldier. Nobunaga probably didn't even notice this monkey-faced kid at the time. As for Ieyasu, he became an increasingly valued vassal of Imagawa. While Nobunaga was consolidating his leadership, Imagawa Yoshimoto had been expanding rapidly and succeeded in forming an alliance with the Takeda and Hojo clan. Thus, Yoshimoto's rear was well protected, which means he could now march all the way to the capital, Kyoto, to either replace the shogun or put him under his control. In summer 1560, just 1 year after Nobunaga managed to consolidate power, he would face his greatest challenge yet. The old enemy of his family, Imagawa Yoshimoto, boasting an army of 45,000, and his Matsudaira allies will be bulldozing his way through Owari all the way to Kyoto. 45,000? Is that for real? Could Nobunaga stand a chance against this impossibly large army? Well, find out on the next episode, Nobunaga's Rise. Be sure to subscribe and like the video so that you don't miss it. If you like what we are doing, then you can support us on Patreon. Until next time, stay cool, my bros.